Hello BHS and welcome back to another edition of Barrington Sports Desk. Today we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. For one last time, I'm Riley Trapp and you're watching Barrington Sports Desk. First up is Bronco Football. The Broncos wrapped up an undefeated season going 6-0 and going undefeated in the MSL West for the first time since 2017, and claiming the first MSL championship game played since 1974, and probably won't be played again for a very long time. The Broncos faced the Knights of Prospect, champions of the MSL East. It was a shootout in Barrington as the Broncos would prevail by a score of 52-45, behind a strong performance from the offense, especially the offensive line. Behind the offensive line was senior running back Brian Smith, who had 263 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. It was a great year for Smith as he was 5th in the state in rushing with 925 yards on the ground, and he reached the end zone 8 times throughout the year. The O-line also gave senior quarterback Peter Anderson a lot of time to find his receivers, as Anderson threw for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns. Anderson will follow in the steps of 2 former top 5 NFL draft picks, Carson Wentz and Trey, as he will be continuing his football career at North Dakota State University. That's not to say the Broncos defense did poorly. The Broncos D showed up when it mattered most, led by senior Evan Roper. The Carnegie Mellon commit led the state in tackles this year. A big turning point in the game is when junior defensive end Owen Powell picked off a prospect pass and rubbled for an easy pick 6. But that wouldn't be the only interception the Knights would throw, as in the final seconds of the game, Jackson Garish picked off a prospect pass, and that was all she wrote. The 2021 Broncos were the first Barrington team since 2017 to go undefeated in the regular season, and the first Barrington team ever to win an outright MSL championship, and most likely the last. Next up is Philly softball. The Phillies are off to a great start as they are 21-0, with their last win coming off the Prospect Knights, who they beat 8-2. The Phillies are led by lone senior Jockey Albrecht, who's committed to North Dakota for softball, with her dominant pitching performance including multiple no-hitters. Next up, the Phillies will take on the Hershey Huskies on Monday. Next up is girls soccer. The Phillies recently defeated the Conant Cougars by a score of 3-0 to keep them on top of the MSL West. The Phillies got help by Nicole Guiazda, who scored once, and Laura Lubinsky, who scored twice. The Phillies' next game is at Rolling Meadows this Friday against the Mustang. Moving on to Broncos Baseball, the boys recently dominated the Palatine Pirates, beating them by a score of 21-1 in only 4 innings. The Broncos advanced to 14-2 on the year and will play Palatine later today. Real quick before we go, I'd like to take a look at all the teams who won their MSL West Conference title. Out of 20 sports, BHS claimed 13 MSL West titles. Those sports include girls volleyball, football, boys soccer, girls gymnastics, girls basketball, boys dance, boys cross country, boys golf, girls tennis, girls swimming and diving, boys swimming and diving, and the chess team won the MSL West tournament. It's been quite a year for athletics at BHS, so congratulations to all athletes and coaches. That just about wraps up my final edition of Barrington Sports Desk. Over the past 2 years, it's been an honor and privilege to talk about athletics here at BHS. I'd like to give a quick thank you to Dr. Jeff Doles for giving me this opportunity. So for one last time, I'm Riley Trapp with Barrington Sports Desk, sending it back to the studio.